Welcome to Health, Wealth, and Happiness, a fast-paced, informative hour-long program dealing with physical, emotional, and mental health issues, consumer information, and money management, as well as the arts, theater, travel, entertainment, social, and civic events. Brought to you by the University of South Carolina School of Medicine Specialty Clinics, the Institute for Partnerships to Eliminate Health Disparities, the Newberry Opera House, the South Carolina Philharmonic, supplements manufacturer A.J. Lanigan, Leon Jones Insurance, and the Mitchell House and Gardens. And now, here's the host of Health, Wealth, and Happiness, Gary Posick.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Health, Wealth, and Happiness. Here's a rundown of today's program. My first guest joins us via the phone. He's Rusty Brzee. Rusty is the owner of ScoreNavigator.com with some important new news, a new service of the website and of his business, which we'll get to as soon as I give you the rest of the lineup. From 1:30 to 1:45 each Wednesday, Don Schaefer is my guest. He's a travel expert. And today we're going to talk about TripAdvisor's top destinations in the world and in the United States. And he says you'll never guess what's the number one destination that they have in the world. Two of the top 25 destinations in the United States are here in South Carolina. I bet I can guess what they are. Probably Charleston and Myrtle Beach would be my guess. We'll see if I'm right. My final guest of the day will be Jamie Harrington and Scott Stepp, the director and lead actor of Shrek, the musical, which opens Friday at Town Theater and runs from May the 2nd through May the 23rd. So I hope you'll stay tuned for the entire program. And welcome back to Health, Wealth, and Happiness, Rusty Brzee. Now, Rusty, I know that we have talked a great deal over the year that you've been on my program about credit and the importance of establishing good information about your credit. And you've pointed out over the year that you've been on the program that in the 20-some years that you've been looking at credit records, most of the data that you have gathered, if not all, is incorrect. But today you're going to talk about something different, a new service that kind of goes hand in hand with credit. So tell us about it.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. I appreciate the introduction on it. What we've looked at, and what I've seen over the years is that it's one thing to be able to understand your credit, and obviously we have all the tools inside of ScoreNavigator for that to happen. But one of the biggest problems that we still see, Gary, is the ability to understand and the best way to manage your money. And so what we've added into ScoreNavigator.com is a financial analysis for the consumer. What it does now, to kind of explain it to you and to the listeners, and you've seen it, you know, when they go to ScoreNavigator.com, they go on and they put in certain information, and they're able to get a copy of their credit report and their credit score. Now, what we've had in there for the consumers, which is different than going to a lot of the other sites to get a report and score, is we have our own software that analyzes the credit data, and then it highlights where most of these errors occur on a credit report. And we have what we call point deduction technology, which is a software that analyzes the data, and it puts a number from 0 to 100 plus to show you why your score is what it is. And then there are long-term and short-term recommendations on what you can do in order to have a corrected report, so that way you have a corrected score. Now, those things are all included for free once you go in and you get a copy of your credit report and your score. Now, what we wanted to add in was the part on what do we do based upon our current finances? How can we utilize that information on doing certain things with our creditors in order to accomplish some of the short and long-term recommendations? And so what we've done is we've added in a place where it populates your credit data, what your payments are, what your balances are, and it allows you to change that So if the information's not correct, we show you how you can do that off of your statements. And then you put in what you're paying out each month to other people other than your credit cards or your mortgages or your auto, those type of things. What it'll do is it will analyze it, and it'll show you where you're overspending in some areas, look for residual money, and then it'll show you where to place that residual money with your current credit situation in order to increase your credit score.
So, in effect, it helps you develop a budget.
It helps you develop a budget, and then it shows you where you can take that residual money each month and apply it in a way that it will help you to be able to maximize your credit score.
Now, I've said to people for years on this radio program that the first debt you ought to pay off, and this is where I think so many people, Rusty, make a mistake. The knee-jerk reaction is, by God, I'm going to double up my payment on my mortgage. If I can pay off my mortgage, I'm going to be way ahead of the game. I think that's wrong. I mean, my God, the rent that you pay on the money that you get your mortgage for is probably the lowest of any money that you, in fact, borrow. So to me, the first place you ought to look is you ought to take all of your credit cards and find out what's the highest interest rate you're paying on one of those credit cards, and that ought to be what you pay off first.
Absolutely. You're absolutely 100% correct, Gary. You know, the advantages, of course, with your mortgage, you can use your interest on your taxes. You can utilize a whole lot of advantages there that you cannot do on your credit cards. You know, for a lot of the listeners, you know, I don't know their age group, but if you remember, because you and I are right here close to the same age, you know, back in the 80s, you could actually write off the interest on your credit cards. We used to do it for business and for personal travel. You could write off all of those things. Well, you're not allowed to do that anymore. So your credit cards are your biggest downfall, but without them, they're your biggest downfall on your credit score. You've got to have revolving credit and stay active with it in order to have a higher score.
And I think that a lot of people don't realize that most of the revolving credit that you have, the company holding that credit card, they don't want you to pay it off. You know, when I get my monthly credit card bill from Sears, they make in real bold print the minimum payment. And that's basically what they want me to pay. They want me to pay the monthly minimum, which I think is $25. And why is that? Well, because they can charge me then interest on the unpaid balance. And now I know that in fine print, I might add, it's now required under law that they tell me how long it's going to take me to pay off my unpaid balance if I only pay the minimum. First of all, most people don't read it, don't look at it, or miss it. Second of all, I think a lot of people, when they pay their bills, they see that, well, you know, $25, I can handle that, and I'll spend the rest of the money somewhere else, when, in fact, at 21% interest, man, I pay that sucker off every month. That's the first bill I pay. It really is. It's the very first bill I pay. Then I pay my utilities. I put it ahead of my utilities. Why? Because it's 21%. Hell, I'm not going to pay 21% interest to Sears. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely, and that's the smart way of doing it. Those are some of the techniques that we work with inside of Navigator to pass that on to the consumer. We also have put in a interactive testing that actually scores them. So there's material in there, and they can start with each chapter. I want to say there's 10 chapters of credit information in there. It's not a book that would take you a month to read. It's something you can go through rather quickly, but you can keep going back to it, and then you can take this test and you can see where you fall into. And those are the basic fundamentals that you need to know about your credit and financing in order to take complete control of it. So before you even go out to apply somewhere, you'll know that your score is maximized.
And I use Sears as an example simply because that's where my MasterCard comes from. It's managed through Sears Credit, but it's, I put most of my expenses on MasterCard. And so that's the bill that I get. It comes through Sears, but it's not necessarily purchases I've made at Sears. It's purchases that I've made for the month using my MasterCard.
Right. And that's what people got to get used to. They got to use it and do it. Now, one of the things that I've been getting a lot of questions about, Gary, is people that are saying, well, now I finally got my credit card paid off. I think I just need to close it out, just shut it down. And people have to be real careful about closing down older revolving credit cards, because your whole algorithm that's built, part of that system is looking at the age of your total credit history versus any new accounts that you just might be opening up. So you got to be real careful. And this whole system will highlight that and show you, don't touch this if you're going to do something.
Well, in a nutshell, why not close a credit card out?
Again, because part of the algorithm for credit scoring is built on just a whole bunch of scenarios and data and high risks based upon consumers and credit all across the United States. And so they look at it and say, well, if a person's been in the system for 20 years, then they've had a history of being able to pay things on time or not pay things on time, but they have experience. So once you cut that experience off and you say, well, now I'm closing out an old account that I've had for 20 years, and my newest account now is 7 years. Well, my oldest account is 7 years, and my newer accounts are within 2 years. They do an average on it, and now you don't have as much experience as you really do have, and that's going to bring your credit score down. So all you got to do is with the other accounts, Gary, is just to make a small charge on it.
Sure.
Don't go past 6 months without using it, because you got to have activity. But just use that card. Say, look, now I'm going to go down and buy gas with it, or I need to pick up something at the store if it's a regular department store card, and just go get something in small charging. Just pay it off.
I saw a report last month, and I thought of you at the time. My first reaction to this was, oh my God, this was a report about a guy who flew from Atlanta to Honolulu, and it cost him nothing. He had accumulated frequent flyer miles by some 31 different credit cards that he had applied for and had received. I'm not lying about this. 31 credit cards that he had, and he showed this was on ABC News, he showed the reporter all of his cards. Now, I get it. He flew round trip for nothing. Is that a good idea to take out 31 credit cards? I thought, ooh, I don't know that I'd want to do that.
31 is a large number, and what happens is, remember, you're not going to get all 31 at the same time. You're going to accumulate them over a period of time. So let's just say that he got 5 new accounts over the last 12 months. That's actually going to bring his score down, because it's going to go again based on the average of all of your accounts. What's the length of it? And then there's, of course, the new inquiries and doing it. So his score would actually come down, but over a period of time it would go up. Now, what offsets that, Gary, it's crazy, is this. You're also judged on your amount of available credit overall. So let's just say he picked up 5 new accounts this year, and his credit availability became $10,000 more. So now you're looking at how much has he used on the other cards with their credit limits, now with a new 10,000 credit limit on it, and then he actually gained some points. So you just got to kind of figure out how many you're going to lose and how many you're going to gain with a pencil and paper, or you go in and you use one of the products that we have inside of ScoreNavigator, which is our target score simulator. And it's got a manual simulator in there, so you're able to go in and make those adjustments. What if my credit limits got up to here now? How many points would I actually gain on my credit? And how many will I lose if I'm opening up so many new accounts and having these inquiries hit me?
Yeah, my concern was and always has been that when you open up a new line of credit, even though you're saying, well, this is a rainy day account, I really don't have any intention of using this new credit card. If you expose yourself to an additional $10,000 worth of credit, that is an exposure. And won't that affect me in the future in terms of me getting a loan?
That it possibly can, because they're going to look at your debt to income ratio. And if they say, what if Gary was to go out and maximize these cards while he's got this loan payment that we're going to give to him, where's that going to put him out money-wise? So you're 100% correct again, Gary. I mean, there's always going to be positive and adverse situations with dealing with your credit. And so that's where I think, too, the educational piece that we've added into Navigator for them to work with should be able to answer a lot of those questions based on their own individual credit, not as, the whole population's credit. What would be good for them, for that individual?
One of the things that you've mentioned in passing that I would like to go back to, because I think it is an important piece to this puzzle when it comes to credit scores, and your overall ability to budget and to get loans, is something that you said, and that was paying off a balance or just paying your bills late. And I'm going to talk about that when we come back from break.
Heart disease, joint pain, allergies, eye care. The list of health needs we're faced with goes on and on. But it's comforting to know there is one healthcare practice in the Midlands with the expertise to take complete care of you. University Specialty Clinics. Only at University Specialty Clinics will you find a team of 200 doctors who are expert physicians and world-class medical educators. Whether you need a simple physical exam or need complete complex medical treatment, you can trust the doctors at University Specialty Clinics to take special care of you for life. Call 255-3400 for an appointment. That number again, 255-3400. University Specialty Clinics is owned and operated by the University of South Carolina School of Medicine, where we practice what we teach.
Our policy is taking care of South Carolina. Leon Jones Insurance. We're from South Carolina like you. Neighbors and friends through and through. Our policy is taking the time to give you the service you expect to find. Our policy is taking care of South Carolina. Leon Jones Insurance.
With locations in Columbia and Batesburg, Leesville, call 790-5600. That's 790-5600 for a quote. When credit scoring was introduced into the marketplace in the mid-'90s, who really knew the impact it would have on our lives today? The 3-digit number determines the rate of financing we get on our home and auto loans, insurance rates, and even employment. But do you know how your credit score is calculated, and is it accurate? Do you know what to do to raise your credit score or change errors in your credit report? ScoreNavigator.com at just $19.95 a month not only gives you the most accurate credit score in the industry, it will tell you how to increase your credit score. Listen to information about you and your credit on the fourth Wednesday of the month from 1 to 1:30 right here on Health, Wealth, and Happiness. We're back, and joining us for the first half hour of today's program is Rusty Brassey, who is the owner of ScoreNavigator.com. And Rusty, if I pay my bills late, how much does that affect me?
It affects you a lot if you're talking about your credit accounts. You're the ones that report to the Bureau. If you miss a $20 payment on your Sears MasterCard for the month, and for whatever reason, you can lose as many as 60 or 70 points off your credit score, and it'll take you 12 months to recover those points.
Why is that such a disaster to my credit score. You know, I mean, it's almost as bad as if I didn't pay the loan off at all.
It's actually just as bad. It's not worse the way that the current scoring algorithm is. Now, there is a new scoring model that's coming out here during the summertime, the FICO Score 9, which will not be as drastic if for some reason that payment's missed for whatever reason, that you can come back as long as you're making the payment the next month. There's a quick recovery on it. Not as many points, but there is a recovery. But it is set that way. The problem is this, Gary, is that, you know, if you miss your $25 payment on that Sears credit card, it'll take you almost a year to recover. But if you miss that mortgage payment, you can start recovering that within 90 days as long as you still make your payments on time each month after that.
Boy, then it is really screwy then, isn't it?
It is.
Now, is there any advantage? Let's say that I have a big doctor bill or hospital bill or a big payment, something comes up, and I know that I'm really up against it, and I can't make a payment on a revolving credit card. Is it to my advantage to call Sears and say, I am really up against it this month. I'm going to pay you, but I can't pay you on time, or should I say nothing?
They don't want to hear it. There's really nothing that Sears is going to do about it. You're better off to fight the medical bill situation and still make at least the minimum payment on the credit card. What we teach people to do, Gary, is to go online. Each one of the creditors that you have has their own website where you can go in with the username and password and set up an auto draft to come off each month of at least your minimum payment well before the due date. So that way it's set in there. You go into your checking account. You already mark it. It's done. This payment's going to come out every month. Here's the next month. It's going to come out. It's done. And if you want to go back in and pay more on it, you can. But budget yourself where you know no matter what happens, your minimum payments are always going to be covered on your revolving credit cards.
I gotcha. And all of this new budget and financial program that you're talking about now is built in to those people who sign up for ScoreNavigator. Now, how does it work?
Well, when they go to ScoreNavigator.com and they go in and they apply to get their credit report and score, then it does have all the other features, the point deductions, it has the simulators, it has the recommendations, it has all of that, but the budget sheet is already there. It populates their credit data information. It's going to just require them to go in and put down how much they make from their job, how much they pay the cable bill, how much they pay people that don't report to the credit bureau. And then it will take and it will analyze that, and it'll let them know what their debt-to-income ratio is, of how much money is there percentage-wise if they don't have a house payment already, if they're going to go shop to get a house. It'll tell them. And then it'll show them that you're going to have to handle these certain areas if you're going to get financed for a higher payment than what your disposable income is going to allow you for housing.
Does it set a limit as to what I might be able to afford in terms of a house per month?
Yes, it will.
And that, I think, is very important, because here's what happens. So many people are disappointed because they're looking they look above their means. In other words, they're looking at a house that, quite frankly, they can't afford, and they're turned down.
That's right, because of their debt ratio. So you're being scored by your credit, obviously, to get a loan to get the rate, and that rate's going to determine your payment. So now you've got to make sure that you don't have too many accounts that are opened up, or you have too many high balances, you have too much stuff out there, and not enough income coming in order to be able to afford the house that you may be looking for because of that payment. And the good thing is that you want to stay up underneath that anyways, Gary. You know, I was taught a long time ago, don't go out trying to get something that you're not going to be able to hold on to for as long as you want to hold on to it. And so if they go in and they say, well, I don't mind taking an $800 payment, it's going to kind of stress me out a little bit. But if the system says, look, keep yourself around $550, $600, there are $550, $600 deals that are out there in today's marketplace where you can go in and buy and have a home and not have to worry about stressing out that you're going to lose it, a year down the road.
Exactly true. And of course, the way in which the market has reacted over the past several years in hanging on to tight money, it used to be that people could get a home without putting any of their own money down. Those days are over. And I think rightfully so. My deal is if you can't put at least 20% of your own money into a home, you got no business buying a home. Now that's my take. Back in the go-go days, 10 years ago, when the market, the housing market was red hot, you could buy a home without any of your money.
Right. And now you can go in and I suggest you look at there's a big still list of foreclosures that are out there. And so you have a better chance of going back into a bank who has a foreclosure on the books, and they can sell that home to get it off their books for a better price, and they're going to be more lenient when it comes to doing the financing on the second time around. And so you may be able to reduce the amount of money that you have to pay down, but you certainly will be considered at a good rate in order to clear the books, so to speak.
Just remember, just remember that when you're dealing with a bank on a foreclosure, you're in the driver's seat. Why? Banks aren't in the real estate business. That ain't what they want to be in. That's not their expertise. They want to move that property. They'll work with you.
Absolutely. That's the best way to go out and do it. I
agree. Now, for those people who are interested in this added service, how much more does it cost?
It's all included. Our actual price, so because I hear the commercials and stuff, it's been $24.95. But because they're listeners on your show by using your call letters when they go to ScoreNavigator.com, there'll be a place to be able to put the call letters in there, and they will be able to still keep it at that $19.95 pricing.
So if they put
it's all added in there.
So if they put WGCB, that's George Cat Victor, in that blank, they're going to get it for the same price that they've been paying, $19.95.
Correct.
Boy, that is a deal. So they're going to save $5 and get all the added services too. Is that a one-time deal? How does that work?
It is a one-time deal. There are other options that are in there where the pricing is actually reduced if they want to get the reports for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. So they'll be able to see those discounts while they're inside the system, and it'll let them know. So if they want to go to the next month, they can, or if they want to say, well, let me just prepay it for 3 months, and they can do it, or 6 months, or like I said, for 12 months. And as they go longer distance, then it actually comes down somewhat in pricing for them as well.
Yeah, because you do have another added service that's called Credit DNA. Tell us briefly about that.
Yeah, Credit DNA is our full credit management program where they work directly with the consumer with a credit coach. So they're working all 3 credit bureaus with them. They're working their financing, their budgeting, their education. They're helping them open up accounts. They're helping them do bank accounts. They're helping them do an assortment of things. And we have a whole testing curriculum set up for them that they can take over a period of time. And with that testing, it offers them discounts in other arenas that we've set up with insurance companies, with mortgage companies, with real estate companies and stuff for them on completions of the test. And that's at creditdna.us. That's for somebody who just needs and wants somebody to work with them and have a person available, a credit coach available for them.
And what does that cost a month?
That runs about $75 a month on average.
But it is personal and it is 24/7, and it's a godsend for people who are really in deep trouble and don't know a way out.
Well, it covers the same thing too with Navigator, where you're taking care of your identity theft. All that's built into your credit monitoring, your alerts. Everything's built in to the systems. with DNA, you're getting 3 bureaus instead of the 1 bureau, and Navigator, and you have somebody there, a lifeline coach, to help you in your credit situations to make sure that you're going to be making the right moves and steps and sharing that experience that we have with them.
Rusty, I thank you so very much for coming and sharing on Health, Wealth, and Happiness.